Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Storytime. It's kind of late, but you know, sometimes that happens, especially when you're working a pet store. Sometimes meetings go a little long, which I want to give a shout out to my management crew, Rebecca and Katie. We just had a super productive couple-hour meeting. They're absolutely amazing. I wouldn't be able to run this department without them. They're both exceptional human beings, both professionally and personally, and just want to give a shout out to those two for helping me out with everything and being the awesome managers that they are and making the reptile department what it is and what you see. So today I have with me a very, very special guest. This is a white tree frog, and she's going to help me read a Halloween book since it's October. We're going to read Broom on the Broom by Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler. So I've read this book before. I usually read it around each Halloween, but this is a really, really fun book. But first, we're going to learn a little bit about our frog friend here. So white tree frogs are also known as green tree frogs, but only in Australia where they're from. They're also known as the dumpy tree frog, and they are usually just kind of get called frumps, just because of like how frumpy looking they are. One of my favorite thing about them is how big these frogs actually are. I'm not trying to do a forced perspective on the screen here. I'm really just showing her how big she is to the size of my hand. Now, a lot of times I've had amphibians, I've talked about how we shouldn't really handle amphibians, and most of the time I keep them in a cup. But the white tree frog actually secretes a substance over its skin that stops it from desiccating. Desiccating is where they lose all their body moisture because since their skin is basically a sponge, it expels all of it out, they get dried up, and then they get sick. Because they live in a habitat that can dry out from time to time in Australia, they secrete this substance that basically creates a cocoon around their body, and it stops them from drying out completely. This is really helpful because Australia is like crazy with the way its weather goes and all kinds of other things that happen there. They're mainly a tropical species, but you're not going to find this type of frog in or really around water. They spend most of their time living up in trees, and there'll be plants up there that catch the water into a cup, and then they go and they sit in the cup. This is how they're going to stop themselves from desiccating. They're going to be able to absorb the water up, but this also helps them hunt for insects, because these guys will literally eat anything about the size of their head. And she just noticed herself on camera, and I'm expecting that any given minute she's actually going to jump on my phone. So if that happens, don't be afraid. She's just looking for somewhere to jump to. Now, these guys have been really common in the pet trade, and they're really, really easy to take care of frog. The reason they're so easy to take care of, again, is because of how temperate they can be towards the amount of humidity that we find in their enclosures. So if you have poison dart frogs, you pretty much have to have a misting system on them. With any other tree frogs we carry, and even the Pac-Man frogs and the pixie frogs, you have to have a lot of moisture. These guys can handle little bouts here and there of having less moisture in their enclosure. Now, they're very, very hardy, as you can see, with how frumpy and big that they get. Usually females are going to be much, much larger than the males are. And actually, one of my favorite things about these guys is they have Kermit the Frog eyes. So most frog eyes are actually going to be vertical and not horizontal. So as you can see, she's got Kermit eyes, which is probably where the inspiration for Kermit's eyes came from. They are very, very stereotypically frog-like. So they're very, very awesome frog. I know I keep saying very a lot, but they're so cool. She just peed all over me. That happens when you handle animals, and it happens quite often when I'm doing these videos, but you maintain your composure. Aw, there she goes. She's trying to climb on the camera again. Here we go, sweetie. Yep. Oh, there we go. I knew that would happen. Why don't we hang on? And why don't I give you just a little bit more water? So I have RO water in here, which is reverse osmosis water. Boop. And I add a little bit of equilibrium to it, which puts the mineral back into it, and this makes it nice and safe for her. So she's getting a little wound up and a little bit rambunctious. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start our story. This is Broom on the Broom. Here we go. Do you want to sit still? The witch had a cat, and the hat that was black, and long ginger hair and a braid down her back. How the cat purred and how the witch grinned, and they sat on the broomstick and flew through the wind. But how the witch wailed and how the cat spat, when the wind blew so wildly it blew off the hat. Over the fields and the forest they flew. The dog wagged its tail and the stormy wind blew. The witch laughed out loud and held on to her hat, but way blew the bow from her braid, just like that. Over the reeds and the rivers they flew. The birds shrieked with glee and the stormy wind blew. They shot through the sky to the back of beyond. The witch clutched her bow, but let go of her wand. Down, cried the witch, and they flew to the ground. They searched for the wand, but no wand could be found. The broom snapped in two. Down fell the cat and the dog. Oh, I think I skipped a page. Yep, they got stuck together. Sorry about that. Everybody makes mistakes, which is why I do these live and don't edit them. Then all of a sudden, from out of a pond, leaped a dripping wet frog with a dripping wet wand. He dropped it politely, then said with a croak, as witch dried the wand on a fold of her cloak, I am a frog, as clean as can be. Is there room on the broom for a frog like me? Yes, said the witch, so the frog bounded on. The witch tapped a broomstick, and whoosh, they were gone. Over the moons and the mountains they flew, and the frog jumped for joy, and the broom snapped in two. Down fell the cat and the dog and the frog. Down they went tumbling into the bog. The witch's half broomstick flew into a cloud, and the witch heard a roar that was scary and loud. I am a dragon as mean as can be, and the witch with French fries tastes delicious to me. No, cried the witch, flying higher and higher. The dragon flew after her, breathing out fire. Help, cried the witch, flying down to the ground. She looked all around, but no help could be found. Dragon drew near with a glint in his eyes and said, just this once, I'll have witch without fries. But just as he planned to begin on his feast, from out of a ditch rose a horrible beast. It was tall, dark, and sticky, and feathered and furred. It had 4 frightful heads and had wings like a bird. And its terrible voice when it started to speak was a yowl and a growl, a croak and a shriek. It dripped and it squelched as it strode from the ditch, and it said to the dragon, Buzz off, that's my witch. The dragon drew back and he started to shake. I'm sorry, he spluttered. I made a mistake. It's nice to have met you, but now I must fly. And he spread out his wings and was off through the sky. Then down flew the bird, and down jumped the frog, down climbed the cat, phew, said the dog. And thank you, oh thank you, the grateful witch cried. Without you, I'd be in that dragon's inside. Oh, don't want to skip the page. Then she filled up her cauldron and said with a grin, find something, everyone, throw something in. So the frog found a lily and the cat found a cone, the bird found a twig and the dog found a bone. They all threw in, all the witch stirred them well, and while she was stirring, she muttered a spell. Iggity, ziggity, zaggity, zoom! Then out rose a truly magnificent broom, with seats for the witch and the cat and the dog, a nest for the bird and a pool for the frog. Yes, cried the witch, and they all clambered on. The witch tapped the broomstick, and whoosh, they were gone. The end. I hope you enjoyed Broom on the Broom. I'd like to say that the moral of this book is probably that there's always room for one more. Doesn't matter how different you are or where you come from, there can always be more room made at the table for you. And it also showed how completely different creatures work together to help out the witch. So, very, very good messages in this book. I hope you enjoyed reading Broom on the Broom by Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler. And I hope you enjoyed learning about our little tree frog friend here. So, we'll see you guys next time.